Today I'm going to talk about the past 2 months-ish, and specifically more like the last couple of weeks where I've been feeling pretty sick spiritually, mentally, physically. If you follow me on social media, specifically Instagram, you'll know that I've been pretty physically sick. And so after a week of really not feeling good, I decided to finally go to the doctor. So I went to the doctors and they basically just said that I had a throat infection and sinus infection as well. So they gave me antibiotics, and literally the next day after taking antibiotics, I felt 98% better than I had the past week. I'm not 100% over it. I still feel a little bit congested. My nose is still clogged a little bit. But in terms of energy back in my body, mind feeling pretty good, head feeling pretty good, less pressure, 100% feeling way better. But through this whole process of being sick, I also was emotionally on a low, you could say. And so just being sick, I would come home. For the last 3 weeks, it's literally been going to work and then coming home and sleeping and resting and just trying to get over this sickness. So I wasn't doing a lot of activities at church, extra activities. I was canceling plans that I had made. I wasn't going out and about. I wasn't being active physically. And so I just felt out of me, out of who I am and what I do. And so I just started to mentally play games. And I think the devil definitely tried to creep in and use this time to separate me from the Lord and just get me really, really down. And so I was feeling lonely. I was feeling kind of purposeless. Why am I in Mexico? I miss my family. I miss that lifestyle. I'm working with these kids, but I'm not giving them 100% of the energy that I have. And so I just feel I was failing in that. So all of these emotions were just in my mind. I'd come home and just go to sleep and just feel really, really lazy. And so that was going on for about 2 weeks, and I just was not liking it at all. And so I started to listen to a podcast. It's called Whoa, That's Good, and I'll link it in the bio below. Sadie, I don't know what her last name is. She's the one that puts it on. But basically, all she does is she interviews different people and she asks them what is the best advice they've ever received. So I just started listening to these podcasts as I was going on walks and stuff, and it just started to encourage me to hear what this advice was that other people had received. And so I thought to myself, how cool would it be if I could ask the people that I'm close with, family and friends that I love, what the best advice is that they've ever received. And so I'm going to share with you guys what some of these were, and also how it encouraged me. So a friend of mine said, love deeply as if it were your last day with someone. Love without strings attached. My brother said, make peace with my past and show yourself compassion. So I thought that was really, really good. I think in every single person's life, we make mistakes. And so we have to learn to be compassionate of those mistakes that we've made and to move on. Another friend said, seek after wisdom. Another friend said, everything is a process. No one can skip it. That could preach. Because we can sometimes get so caught up and stuck in what we're doing and just want to get to the end goal, right? Obviously everyone wants to finish the process. Everyone wants to achieve the goals that they've made, but we forget about that it's a process and we have to take those steps. One of my friends who's married said not to go to bed angry with her spouse no matter what. Obviously I'm not married, but I think that futuristically when I do get married, that will definitely be something that I will try and remember and take hold of. Oh, one of my friends said, it's funny because he wrote me, he said he didn't know if this was good advice or not, or he thought maybe this is a dumb one, but I don't think that is. It just depends on who you are, and what you value is going to be the advice that you receive the most, So this is what he said: don't worry if you haven't finished your stuff yet. You will finish it anyways. So that's good. A few of my favorites. So my brother John, he said that this was one of the best advice that he'd received, and he said that he was working on this, and I think I apply this to my life right now. What he received was, the goal is to develop spiritual stamina, so when a problem occurs, I don't react out of emotion, but out of wisdom. And that's so true. We're always going to encounter problems, and there's always going to be issues. How we set ourselves up in advance, that's going to determine actually how we react in those situations. My other brother said, it's not a matter of if adversity hits, but when. How I respond matters. So that actually goes really similar to what my other brother John said. Things are going to happen. It's not a matter of when it happens, because it's going to happen, but it's a matter of how we react to it. So those are so good. And then lastly, my dad sent this one. The best advice he's ever received is, where are you taking people? It's so true. Like, as people, we're always going to be leading and taking people somewhere, but where is that place that you're taking them? Are you just taking them on a journey that's going nowhere, or are you taking them towards a specific goal? So I would say that the best advice I've ever received now in time, I guess, for what applies to my life, my dad, he wrote this in his book, and he says this very often, so a lot of you probably have heard this before, but he says the most dangerous place to live is outside the center of God's will. And so basically it's like, if I'm not doing what God has called me to do, if I'm not in the center of God's will for my life, like, my life is going to be dangerous. When it comes down to the full picture and it comes down to what I'm doing with my life, like, I'm doing what God's called me to do. I'm in His will. And my life is, like, much better than I could have ever thought. So that was some of the advice that people gave me. I hope you enjoyed this. I just want to encourage you guys. Like, if you're in maybe a similar type of slump that I'm in, maybe you got sick, or maybe you are just, like, overwhelmed or depressed, like, ask somebody, what's the best advice that you've ever received? Or think about it yourself. What's the best advice that I've ever received? And through that, it will get your mind thinking and shifted in your mindset. And I think it'll really, really help you to be encouraged and to keep moving forward, and to love yourself and to love other people. And it just reminds you of, like, the purpose that you have here on earth and all that God has given you. And so, yeah, I hope that was encouraging. I hope that someone can take something away from this. Like, I hope that this gives you a little bit of insight to what life's been like for Maya the past couple of weeks. And yeah.